People are expecting to hear more in the way of 2 planned debates, but now those debates are in flux. So, how will the next few weeks shape up on the campaign trail? And a big question, how is the president doing health-wise? To fill us in, joining us from the White House, Deputy Press Secretary Brian Morgenstern. Welcome to Real America, Brian. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back. It's good to be with you.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys giving us updates here at One America News and your first time on Real America. Brian, first and foremost, let's talk about the president's health because, of course, that's all we've heard about from the left-wing media in the Democrat Party, that he shouldn't be back, he shouldn't be working, he's put lives in jeopardy, but he seems pretty dang healthy to me. So how's he doing today? We've seen those videos, and what's the diagnosis ahead from his doctors?
Oh, he's doing great, and he's feeling great. Those are his own words, but his doctors have also said he's symptom-free now for a long period of time. He doesn't have a fever anymore. They've identified antibodies. That's a great sign. It means he's on the road to very soon not being infectious at all, but even so, he has been working very hard, as we know from Walter Reed and now back at the White House, continues to work the phones with members on the Hill and with his senior staff. A few of us are able to interact with him, but in a safe way with PPE and standing back. So, look, he's got more energy than any of us. It's really incredible. And he's put out videos speaking directly to camera to the American people, letting them know that he's feeling well and that he wants America's seniors and really all of Americans to get the great treatment that he's had, so that if they are infected with this disease, they'll be treated promptly. They'll be the risks are way down, and people are able to walk out of the hospital, their doctor's office, healthy. That's a great thing. He's now a living, breathing example of the success of Operation Warp Speed, and he wants everyone in the country to benefit from it as well.
Brian, I'm glad you brought up the safety part, because the left has been tearing the president and his administration a new one the last couple of days since he returned to the White House, that he shouldn't be working because it's not safe. And you just brought up the fact that you're limiting, I'm sure, the contact and the PPE rather. Can you describe more of the safety protocols that are in place and where the president is doing or conducting business? Is it West Wing? Is it Oval Office? What's going on behind the scenes so the American people can know what's going on in our house with our president?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, he's working hard, and we're doing it in a safe way. And they are deep cleaning the residents and the West Wing every day. Anyone who is interacting with the president has PPE. There's goggles, masks, gowns available, but we can also stand back and just be at a safe distance. So we're certainly able to keep doing the people's business just in a safe way. He's been working from the residents. We also have arrangements for him to be in the Oval if he needs to be. Yesterday, he went into the Oval and he had a briefing on the hurricane and on the status of stimulus talks. And he had people on the phone, and he had our chief of staff and one of our deputy chiefs of staff as well are able to go in person, but as I said, with PPE and at a distance. We'll expand that orbit as the days go by, and the chances of infection go from very slim, as they are now, to zero, and we'll be there very soon.
Yeah, it sounds like with antibodies showing up, we're on the downslope here for POTUS. I want to ask, because a lot of those folks on the left don't seem to ask enough, how's FLOTUS doing? How's our First Lady?
Doing great, and she's had a mild case and has been getting through it very well. So I mean, that's terrific news that she's very healthy, and a number of folks around the White House also, as we know, have contracted the virus, but many people are pretty young and healthy, and they're able to fight it off very well. Our press secretary Kayleigh is doing great. If she's suffering from anything, it's a little bit of cabin fever. She can't wait to get back to work, but she's quarantining as the medical experts advise her to do. But we hope to have her back soon, as soon as possible.
Yeah, we hope to see her back too. I love watching those press briefings. To use a young person's term, she's just savage, and I love watching her in the press room take apart those reporters who are, to me, just absolutely ridiculous in their questioning. But anyway, that's for another show. When she gets better, have her come on, will you? Brian, appreciate it. Let's talk about the campaign trail. So the Presidential Commission came out today, said we want to go virtual for next week, and then the following one on the 22nd will be back to normal style, but they'll do the plexiglass and whatever. The president, of course, going, I'm not going to waste my time with this. Let's do it in person or not. Is there anything you can update us on that right now that you've heard from the president? What's going to happen with that debate? Because we've heard from the Biden camp, first it was, well, let's do it that way. Now he's saying that he'll just take the questions by himself for 90 minutes.
Yeah, so there's ongoing negotiations, and it looks like the 22nd will certainly happen, and then there's some discussions going on about getting a third debate on the calendar. The Biden campaign's resistant to that, of course, because the Biden campaign doesn't want to have him in person debating with the president. They've been trying to weasel out of this for weeks. So when the commission, tried to unilaterally change formats, the Trump campaign and the White House are not going to be in favor of that, because the president is strong in in-person debates and gets Vice President Biden off balance and off his guard. And that's important for the American people to see. Who's going to be the strong leader representing them for the next 4 years? And it seems like the commission acted unilaterally here and are sort of depriving the American people of seeing that. So we're in ongoing talks. We want to make sure that there's enough debates and that they're in person, and that the president and former vice president are engaged in person, because that contrast is critically important. The economic messages on job creation from President Trump, the record on judicial appointments, frankly, the record on pandemic management, between how the President Trump has mobilized the entire country versus how Vice President Biden botched the swine flu handling. I mean, there couldn't be more contrast. Law and order, of course, that the president talks about so much and is so important. These contrasts are important for the American people to see, and it's important for them to see them in person. So these conversations are ongoing, and hopefully we'll have a resolution very soon. Yeah,
Brian, I totally agree with you. And after the revelation we aired yesterday, only a certain small select few media outlets did, that town hall that NBC had put on with Mr. Biden not long ago featured two men that said they were undecided voters. But last month they were on MSNBC, the little baby network of NBC, saying they'd voted for Clinton 4 years ago and that they already decided they were voting for Biden. So they were plants. So obviously if you do this town hall style remotely, how do we know the people that are popping up that are undecided, wink, wink, are truly that and they're not plants? Because NBC just planted people this week.
Well, and we saw a similar situation with ABC with a number of very hostile questions. It was supposed to be, just sort of this folksy event, and then they plant a bunch of vipers. And of course, Vice President Biden and his campaign are happy to do another town hall similar in nature, to have a bunch of softballs put on a tee for him. President Trump will never shy away from tough questions. That's why he engages with journalists so much. That's why he talks directly to the American people so much. That's why he will always be willing to debate early and often in person and subject himself to that scrutiny. He believes that's what the American people deserve. If only the other side got equal treatment, things might be a little bit different. But the president will always just speak up for a fair fight and be willing to show up anywhere with anyone, posing questions, and he'll defend his record any day of the week. Yeah, and don't we wish that the mainstream media would do the same and hold Mr. Biden accountable? After over 22 years in this industry, Brian, it makes me sick every day to watch them throw him softball questions to cover for his racist comments for the last 40 years, to cover for his bumbles and gaffes and missteps, and then hammer this president on every little thing. He's, as my grandma used to say, and I'm sure lots of Americans out there, the president's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. And it's getting ridiculous. Absolutely. And I mean, look, the vice president's record on race, his record on law and order is abysmal. They are going to end fracking, even though they now won't admit it, even though they said it just weeks ago. I mean, this is unbelievable. If they would be held to account, we might see a completely different landscape. But the president's going to keep fighting. Well, let's hope we get those next two debates in person, because I, for one, want to see the head-to-head. That's the way it should be for the American people. Brian Morgenstern, Deputy Press Secretary at the White House today. We appreciate it, sir, for the time. Give the President and the First Lady well wishes from all of us here at Real America and One America News. And Kaylee as well. You all stay safe, and we'll see you back on here real soon. Sounds great. Thank you for having me. Good to see you.
Yep, thank you, sir. Straight ahead on Real America, he is never at a loss for words and will always tell you what's on his mind and never hold back. Outspoken patriot Sean Whalen is my next guest. We'll wait.